everyone, and welcome. So tonight is the night. It is the eve of Christmas Eve, and I am fully dressed. Remember, the last stream I said this time of year is for oversized sweat clothes, comfy clothes, furry flannel clothes, and so, rocking the flannel, but I stepped it up a notch. I'm wearing my PJs. Oh yeah, people, I am not messing around. Christmas is about lounging around, and I'm gonna go to the max. We're doing it here in the shop. Although haven't been, much lounging here, as you can see by the epic mess going on my workstation. Converting our little Scrooge ornament into something more real. Check that out, people. Yeah. And I'm going to put that right in front of the face so the camera will choose to focus on it. And so I use the wires to kind of make it look Christmassy, all decorated and stuff. Now, of course, for a real, electronics person, this is a nightmare, but we're doing it for decorative reasons. So I gotta say hi to the double Daves. We have Dave Beck and Dave Wells joining us. Everyone wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. And so I indeed wish all of you guys a Merry Christmas. Of course, we have Silvio from Brazil. Oi, Silvio, tô contente de te ver de novo. And Kevin is saying Merry Christmas. We have Mopar Scott here too. And Merry Christmas from him. Kurt Benning, of course. He's saying no eggnog. Yeah, that's the last thing we need is some spiced eggnog up in here. Then I'll be like connecting everything wrong. That's for later, Who was it that had margaritas or something while we were building the phone booth? I forget who that was, but I said later on, and then yes, as soon as I finished the phone booth, I was like, yes, party time. So guys, we made a whole heck of a lot of progress. I know some of you guys saw this that I posted. We started with a real, would make Grinch proud type of ornament. So of course, this isn't plugged in, but when you press the red button, our measly little light lit up. And then when you press the music button, our ugly buzzer would just make like a sound, like a pterodactyl noise. It was pretty bad. Not sure this is something you really want to give somebody, because they would probably just be like, thank you. I'll just put that over here. When you bring like one of those weird cranberry cakes, there's always that family member that brings that dish that like nobody likes. And so you just take it and you're like, wow, that's great. Thanks for making this again every year. And you put it like at the corner of the buffet where no one will even ever see it. That's this. Then we stepped up, our prototyping, and I'm going to show you guys kind of like what I did here. So we see how we put in a lot more lights. It's looking pretty good now. A lot less Scroogey. Now. So we have all of our classic Christmas colors here. We have a white for the top of our tree. Of course, all of our resistors for our transistors, because remember, our pins only put out 12 milliamps. So if we want to start adding in all these lights, well, that's going to kind of overconsume the board. So by using transistors, it amplifies the current coming from a pin, and you can put more than one LED on a pin. Now, the more LEDs you want to put on the pin, the beefier your transistor. So this one is a 2N2222. It's got 4 2s at the end of it. And I've been running this for quite some time, and I touch them to see if they get hot. And they don't. So, they're pretty happy with just the 2 LEDs. And of course, we have our passive buzzer. We have upgraded from that nasty active one. And so if I plug this one in, we worked on our song last time. We all became music producers and we crushed it. I think we wrote a platinum hit version of Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. So, better watch out, Timbaland. Better watch out, DJ Khaled. We know how to compose now. So I'm just going to plug this in here for us to see kind of how this prototype works. And this is the prototype that we're going to be transferring onto this. And so I got a good deal started on this one. I do have a blank that we can start laying out some components, but then after we get kind of the basics done with this, I'd like to go back and do all the grounds. So I have all the signal wires, the power, everything on this side, and then grounds, the ugly black wires can go on this side, or the solder lines and all that. All right, so fruitcake, Mopar Scott totally named it. I was like, it's the cranberry thing, the thing that no one ever eats. And you just have to these people just don't take a hint. And, they keep bringing it every year. All right, so let me flip scenes for you just to kind of show you how this works. Now, when our ornament is on and it doesn't get anything from the internet, it's just going to have our little white light illuminated that sits atop of the tree. That's kind of like our tree topper right there. So say I decide to send some lights cheer to all the other ornaments that are hooked up to the same cloud services feed. So you can have a little light show that goes like that. I think it cycles through 3 times. I might add another, 2 times to it, so that way it cycles 5 times might be nice. So if you see this, then somebody with the same ornament as you has sent you some Christmas cheer. But we can up our cheer and play a song. And you'll notice that all the lights light up as this thing plays. So I figured we'd have blinking lights for one button and then just solid lights and music. So that way, say you're at home, maybe this is on the tree, maybe this is on your tabletop, it kind of really tries to grab your attention. And that's why with the chaser lights, the light version, I think I'm gonna add a couple more chases to that. Very copy and paste, easy to do, and we'll look at the code real quick. But one thing I wanted to show you guys, that last time I said this part of the stream will be super fast, allowing us more time to kind of work on this PCB board a little bit, so you guys can kind of mimic what I've done and make your own gifts and stuff like that. So you'll see that the red, green, and blue are all very scrunched together. It's kind of hard to tell what's going on. So I spaced out the yellows just to kind of be my example, so maybe I'll tilt him like this. So we have our transistor, and you'll notice that there's a flat side and there's a rounded side, and that helps you to figure out what is the collector and the emitter. Now the base is the middle pin. And so that's what's going to connect to your resistor. And this is a 1 kilo ohm resistor, and then connects to your signal line. And then that's what allows this entire group here, this group of yellows, to turn on. And then the other leg, your emitter leg, is always connected to the common ground. So that's easy. Just do it for all of them. And then your other leg connects to the negatives of the LEDs. And of course, the positives connect to common positive. So pretty easy to set up. You can add many more LEDs. Some would say I'm still being stingy on the LEDs, but we don't have much surface area to play with. Now, if you decide, heck, this wire business is just way too many wires, you can probably sneak more LEDs up on here. And let's see. Back you guys up just a little bit. There we go. Now it's much happier. It was like, oh, bright light, I want to focus on that. So I'll cover it. But yeah, you can definitely have room to add more LEDs. But I figure I just add it on the side, and you can imagine when I press this red button right here, the chaser lights are going to go down 5 times. I'm going to add 2 more times to that. And then when I press the music button, the music will go on. Now, of course, this one isn't done yet. So even if we were to plug it in, we're not going to hear anything because all of the grounds are missing. So you can see I got started here hooking up all the positives, our signal wires to our board. And of course, I tested this board before putting it on here. So we're going to start this transfer process to a fresh one, at least get the main components laid in and soldered. Now that I know this design works, I can be a little bit brave. Like I put all these on and just bent all the leads to try and keep everything in place. But, things kept popping off. So I had to put them all back. But for this one, now that we know this layout works, we can certainly copy it and start soldering some things on. So like I said, anytime your circuitry is just for function and there's like no one's going to see it, the less wires and the less connections you can make, the better, the more reliable your piece is going to be. But because this is going to be on display, you know, why have a whole bunch of ugly solder, you know, lines where, you know, we can make it a little bit more festive. So I used the same jumpers that we typically use for our prototyping. And I thought, wow, these are already pretty colorful and they bend and hold their bend really well. Unlike like a 22 gauge wire or stranded wire, they bend, but they don't hold shapes as well. So this is pretty, you know, kind of a pretty cool double use. So let's get our main components onto this board here, and I'll move this guy out of the way. I'll also unplug him so he can, you know, get a break, right? Sometimes I do give breaks around here. It's not very often, but sometimes it happens. All right, so we have our PCB board here, and DB Geltic is saying breadboard magic. Yes, it's you know, magical. Luckily, you know, maybe you didn't catch the first one. It was a little more grinchy. We had one LED and a horrible buzzer. So Dave is saying PJs need some hot cocoa maybe. I do need some hot cocoa, or just some plain eggnog would be great. Yeah. So, looking at this, I didn't do a point here because I think I'm going to drill a little hole to put a ribbon or something in case you do want to use it as a tree topper. Now, you can see where I cut it out. Oh, it's kind of ugly. I used a Dremel for this. And if you guys haven't gone on Discord and created an account, it's free. Get on my Discord. There's links to it everywhere, wherever you're watching, because that's where all the discussions in between streams happen. A lot of the decisions are made. And so Bounty Hunter Breaks actually had a very good kind of suggestion. All these curves is just space that you're losing to put components, you know, but because we have a decent amount of components, but not like a ton, I kind of got away with this. So you see that I made a template and I got all these cool boards here, a little bit bigger, you know, than what I'm used to doing. And welcome Rio Borga. Welcome to the stream. We are all Christmassy. Hopefully you are as well. We're making Christmas PCBs that are internet connected so we can send Christmas cheer to each other. So I'll put this up online in case you guys want to be able to cut out the same template. You know, if you like this design, if you're looking at it and it looks like the fruitcake and you're like, I'll come up with my own, thank you. So this is the ugly side where we're gonna put the grounds. And so we're just gonna turn around and pretend that doesn't exist. And if you give this gift to anybody, just tell them, whatever you do, do not turn it around. If you do, it'll zap you with lasers. Yeah, so you only allowed to look at your ornament from the front, so that way they don't see the hideous back, you know. So by the time you start to like really solder things, it does start to hide the hideousness. You know, it's not as hideous looking now, but when you start, yeah, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. All right, let's get some of these components on here. Oh, it's Bounty Hunter Breaks. I did not recognize you on Twitch. Awesome. All right. So let's, I'm already in the right view. So I'd like to do a white LED for our star. So let's take it. I'm using the 5mm ones versus these tiny little 3mm ones, although they're fine too. We're going big O vision, big O vision. So, and you can tell, you know, we've discussed this a lot before, but the positive lead is always the longer lead. So I think I'm just going to stick him, maybe not all the way at the top because I'm going to drill near here. So I'll kind of go right here. It looks pretty good. And so that way, when we flip it over and it doesn't fall out, I'm going to go ahead and bend the leads like that. So now he's stuck on there. So, Silvio's saying, where am I? Oh, hopefully the YouTube isn't down. I noticed that Facebook is having some issues. It didn't load up no matter what I did. So I don't know if it's finally gotten back on there or what, but Facebook was completely giving me issues. So with these LEDs going down the sides, I'm going to come up with just like a rule for myself and put the negative one always at the top. Let's just do that because that's kind of what I did on this one. And I figure, good enough reason for me. So that way you're not having to remember and unbend and rebend the legs to remember. So, and one of the things is you don't want to put it too close to the tip because of the manglage in the back. So you want to make sure that you pick two that are like, got a decent amount of metal still. So that means you might have to scooch it in a little bit. And we have our negative and our positive right there. And I'm going to do another red on the other side. Negative facing up. And before I get too crazy, actually we'll do the LEDs, then we'll put in our main board. You want to get that one positioned first before you go nuts with the other components. And Dave is saying solid wire can be used for other cool projects. I'll shoot some next year ideas to Discord. Ooh, definitely do. Guys, get on Discord. Start shooting your ideas for next year. That's how we decide to do these projects. Most of these are not my idea. Sometimes I'll be like really passionate about like, oh, I really want to do this, guys. I've always wanted to try this. But almost all the streams that we do are your ideas, right? So keep shooting them over. So we'll do a little green guy there, little green goblin guy, and a little green guy over here. And always negative on top and positive on the bottom. Now, I very, very rarely work with PCB, just these boards and making my own circuits. A lot of what we do, and you guys have seen, is simply prototyping a lot of things, playing around with some ideas, and then taking it apart, using it for the next project. So, as you can see, some of the soldering, it starts off not so great. And we got some good joints, and then we got some okay joints, but so far we got continuity where we need it. So don't be afraid to try something like this. If anything, it's great practice, and for the most part, everything's reversible, right? And when you buy these components, they come like in packs of 100 a lot of times. So you can make lots of mistakes. All right, we're done with blue. And finally, the last one is yellow. Now, you don't have to do solids. You can also do flickering LEDs, all kinds of cool things. This is just kind of a simple, fun, I think pretty much anyone can at least prototype it, do it. And heck, doesn't even have to be just Christmas. You can make Star Wars, home decor. It doesn't have to be ornaments. So you can do some fun things. All right. But 'tis the season, people. All right, so it looks like I'm back. I might have ducked out. But yes, Facebook seems to still be cranky pants. Cranky pants on me. I'm just double checking here. And didn't we have an issue with Facebook one time? It just was like, yep, it's just not doing it. And right here, it's still trying to grab data. So YouTube and Twitch it is. So we got our fanciful little lights. Let's get our board on here. And for that, because I know this guy works and we're pretty much done with this prototype here, I'm gonna steal him. And when a board has so many pins, it's so hard to get them out. You just have to rock them back and forth. So this one I can start to disassemble and put away the pieces. Heck, I can even harvest these. We'll harvest everything and use it for our current Christmas tree. And Bounty Hunter saying Facebook is being a huge Scrooge. All right, indeed. This is not the first time it's been a Scrooge. And people be waiting there like, is she streaming? And you pop up a message, saying, hey guys, over here. So let's see what we got going on here. And I kind of want to position them somewhat the same because it pretty much worked out, and it looks like I pushed this board as low as I could, and I left nothing on here on purpose so that way you can plug it in rather easily. So for now, these are just powered via like a micro USB, micro B. So it's USB A to micro B. All these names. So I think this guy needs to go up by 1 pin. There, I think that looks pretty close, And you'll notice that all of our connections are pretty much being made on one side. So you have to account for that. So I threw a couple wires and winded them down, or else all the decor would be here, and here would be kind of ugly and plain. So, you know, we tried to use different powers of our pins. And if you recall, let's see our pins here. So you can see there's 1, 2, 3 powers and 4 grounds. So we're gonna take advantage of all that. And let me flip you guys on here. And Kurt is saying, well, if you're wondering what I'm doing watching Atomic Train on YouTube. Awesome. All right. And guys, isn't The Matrix out? That, you know, totally different subject. I got to, I'm going to be watching that this weekend. So for this, because this is just gonna, this actually grabs on pretty well. I notice it's like one of the last things that I start to bend, but I'm gonna bend a pin on here and a pin on here. And that should be enough to keep it in place. So let's see here, gotta put my eyeballs on. And Silvio is saying that the aliens kidnapped me. Oh no. Oh no. So if any of you all are experiencing weirdnesses with YouTube, because he's watching on YouTube, let me know. Now, of course, he's watching in Brazil. So if you guys are also having any hiccups, definitely let me know. All right. So. And you don't have to go nuts bending it. Just like a tiny little bend is enough to get it to stay on. So there. Very, very tiny bends. So that's on, and let's start, you know, finish getting the rest of our main components on. Now that our lights are on, I say probably the buzzer, well, the buzzer keeps popping off, so I put him on last. Let's get our little transistors in place, and for that, let's see, where be my transistors? Right here. So we're gonna grab this top one right here, the 2N2222, 4 twos. There we go. YouTube America is way good. And with his little legs, I'm just gonna space them apart. Now, of course, our base is in the middle, and we know that our emitter is on the left as I look at it, and on the right is the collector. So we know that the resistor has to be connected to this middle leg. So both Daves are saying both in America and in Canada, we are all good. So it could just be a regional thing. So this is now the tough part, is trying to get 3 legs. 2 legs I can manage, but 3 legs, a bit tough. And just kind of getting an idea for spacing there, we can kind of put this guy on here. Oh, he went in. Nice. So now that he's in, I'm going to flip him over and bend his little legs. Oh, bend them backwards. There we go. And the shinies are kind of tough on the camera. The camera is just like, oh, it is so bright. I don't know what to focus on. And I'll kind of take this reference one out of the way because the camera is loving it. It's like, it's so gorgeous. This one's ugly. So you see, even just with a couple, one of the ways to do it is just leave all your components up front and then put all the wiring in the back and the solder lines. You know, that way you have a nice, clean tree design. And so it's to each his own, you know. So here is a 1K resistor, my little 1K resistor baggie. And put him back. because God forbid, I hate having to read the lines, because I'm going to admit the reds, depending on the manufacturer, the reds look like browns to me sometimes. And sometimes it's hard to distinguish the browns from the blacks, you know? So I'm like, if I don't mix them up in the first place, I'll be pretty good. I'll be in good working order. So I'm going to go ahead and bend these little leads. So Bounty Hunter has a great point, and the only reason I didn't do this is because it didn't come on time. So anytime you're working with microcontrollers, 555 timers, basically anything that looks like it's got spider legs on it, the best practice is to always put it so it's replaceable, easily replaceable. So you can buy like a terminal or a socket to plug it into, much like an Arduino, the way you plug DuPont wires into. So if there's a problem, you can always quickly replace it. Because imagine having to unsolder all these little pins. It is a nightmare. It is. So the best practice indeed is to do exactly that. Get some kind of plug or terminals that you can plug this thing into and make it removable. Now these boards are pretty sturdy, as is the Arduino, but eventually, yeah, you know, it can have some kind of spike, even though you got all your resistors in place, that just makes it quite angry. So we have our base resistor. Now, because this one's at the top, I'm going to say this is going to control the red ones. And so we're going to then take wiring from the bottom here and eventually make our way down here. But let's get the rest of our transistor situated, you know. Yeah, I didn't have to go diva on the 3 pins. They cooperated. Sometimes I've learned you got to bust a little toot, and all of a sudden they get kind of scared. And they're like, okay, we'll do what you say. So this one, I'm going to put maybe over here. Kind of next to the greens, because this one will control the greens. And now I talked all diva-tude, and it's like, yeah, I don't think so. I'm not going in. I know your projects. I'm going to get fried. I know you. Please keep me away from your projects. For God's sake. There we go. I'm going to push you in. So MOSFETs too, that's another one that I like to kind of keep removable, especially when you know you're using it in an application where they're just going to get hot a lot, you know, and then wear and tear on it, and then there you go. So that's another good component to have removable. Oh, so Silvio is saying that his screen locked up, so he had to open another screen, or perhaps even restart his computer. Então, Silvio, eu até perguntei para os outros se tem alguém também tendo problema assistindo ao vivo, mas até agora não. Então, talvez só trancou alguma coisa no computador e agora tá pronto para ver. Então, a gente já pôs todas as luzinhas. Agora, a gente tá pondo os transistores aqui. Esse pro vermelho, esse pros verde. And now we're gonna do blue. Yeah, Dave's, I jinxed you. I think I opened the legs a little bit too much. It's usually just like a tiny little bit. So these I kind of put near the greens, although this green, poor green here, he's gonna have a bit to go. But he can travel. He can travel. Then maybe I'll put this guy maybe a little bit lower. I just have to kind of keep in mind I gotta leave room for a buzzer there, so maybe I'll move him over here. So no two trees are gonna be alike. So if you're making a bunch of the same thing for people, you can even change up the color of the cords, you know, the cables, the wires. Every word but the correct word is coming out right now. And I'm I'm just double checking because the resistors do get kind of swapped, especially when you're working on all of them here and you're like, oh man, that's why I like to put them right back in the baggie. But we're doing 1Ks only. Oh, and Abenau is here from Brazil as well. Boa noite, Abenau. A gente tá fazendo um enfeite de Natal para pôr na árvore. E se a gente tem o mesmo enfeite, eles comunicam um com o outro. Então, se eu aperto um botão para acender as luzes, acende as luzes em todos os enfeites. E se eu aperto o botão para tocar música, toca música em todos os enfeites. So I'm just catching Abenau up on what we're doing. And one more transistor, people. See, we are rocking through the basic layout of this thing. And normally I would lay everything out, but because I already did one, I'm getting braver. So we can kind of solder these main components in place. And I think we'll be good. So we have another one. What did I do with that other one? 1, 2, 3. I kind of hid it over here. So I had red, green, blue, and yellow. I kind of stuffed them all up there. But guys, there's like a bunch of room down here. So maybe for this design, maybe this one I'll get a little brave. And I'll put this little transistor here. Like that. And this will be for the yellows. I think it's pretty good. And the other thing too that would be a great upgrade is for now, you plug it in and that's how it's powered. But it would be nice to get a LiPo battery and you connect it via, if I have the right orientation, these 2 pins right here. But otherwise, you can connect it with, you know, just kind of like a 5-volt phone, you know, charger type of plug, and you're good to go. So we put our resistor in. Oh, too tight. And I just kind of, you know, fold the legs just so nothing falls out. So we're pretty good. Nothing's falling out. You get a little jigglage, you know, like a loose tooth, which I never understood. I've always hated loose teeth. It's like, you're either in or you're out. Stop trying to be in both places at once, you know? And I've been now saying this is a cool project. É muito bacana. Esse aqui tá quase acabado a parte da frente. Então a gente vai acabar a parte de trás e a gente vai ver se funciona isso daqui. E cada um que tem um desses trabalha o mesmo. Então se eu aperto esse botão para luz, ilumina as luzes de todos. E esse botão, se eu aperto, então ele toca a música e toca a música em todos os enfeites. É só você pôr a tua informação da internet, aí ele faz uma conexão. Alright guys, so we have red, green, blue, and yellow. So we got our whole transistor situation transitioned. So the next is, let's see, we got LED transistors that we can do and our buttons. So I'm going to raid these buttons over here. Don't mind if I do, since they're looking at me like, hey, we're doing nothing. One, and I think I made the lights button, the red one. And I made the other button, the music button, our music production button, the green one, like that. So I almost put them here, you know, because there's a lot of space, but then the cable would constantly be in the way. And I think there's enough clearance, but I don't know. So I figured this would probably be easier. All right, so we got all that situated, and now we can do resistors for our LEDs. And now we are done with the 1K. So I'm putting him back in his little baggie so I don't start to confuse them. Now using Ohm's law and assuming, you know, or saying that we want 20 milliamps of current running through each LED, for the reds, because it's got a forward voltage of 2, that gives us a resistor value of 68. And then for the other lights, they pretty much all like our ballpark forward voltage of 3. So that gives us a resistor value of 22. Now, those are not exact. It's basically, I think it's 15, but I rounded up to the nearest resistor value that I happen to have. So I think it wasn't even 68. It was like 60 something, like 62 or something. And then I just rounded to what I got. All right, so this is the 68, which belongs to our red LEDs. So let's get them all happy. And now remember, we want to connect these resistors to the positives of the LED, because the negatives are going to be connecting, just for simplicity's sake, the negatives are all going to be connecting to that leg of our transistor. So it's kind of nice when you know everything facing up is negative and all the little legs facing down is positive, because we put everything in the orientation, in the similar orientation. So I'll do that. And they don't have to be up and down. You know, you can kind of make him diagonal if you want. We can kind of be interesting with it. Kind of go, you know, diagonal like that. We'll do these two diagonal just to be different. So Silvio is asking if these are like the common LEDs or the super bright ones that require more voltage. Então, Silvio, esses LEDs são comuns. Então, não precisa muitas volts para ele iluminar bem bonito, para ele brilhar bastante. Então, não é de alto brilho. Porque cada um desses só põe 12. E cada uma dessa, eu tô pondo 20 amperes. Ou miliamperes. E o transistor pega o 12 miliamperes aqui, aí ele aumenta, assim cada um pode ter 20 miliamperes. All right, so just double checking that I am indeed connecting these to the positives. And so now we are officially done with our 68s. And we're gonna move on to our other ones, which is the 22s. Yeah, the 22s. And for comparison's sake, I'll just be sure that that is the deal. Yes. So, those of you that do a lot of PCB prototyping and or final products, you'll note a lot of the things we talked about, like sockets for certain things. Now, this is something I don't do all that often. So for me, I kind of go with what I have at hand. And yes, some sockets would be nice, but this'll do. This'll do. We're not like really beefing or abusing our chip with this one. If we were driving like hundreds of LEDs or anything like that, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But for our wrench army project, I definitely have sockets coming for those, for the 555 timer chip. Because that one I don't want to fry. All right, we're moving quite along here. It's looking pretty good. And if I have this one kind of ready to go, then all I'm going to do is just, once I get done soldering that one, then I can continue on this one. And once you do one, the first one takes you forever, especially if you don't do this that often. And figuring out how to lay the wire so they're not too entangled. I mean, they're pretty entangled, but too entangled. took a while, because you want it to look kind of messy and kind of neat like that, but not overly messy. I think that one goes there. Sometimes it's tough to tell where the anode and the cathode is. And because that resistor is right on the edge of where I cut, I'm just gonna look and see, oh, there's plenty of pad left. All right, it's not too butchered. It's not too butchered. We're gonna make it work. So Silvio is saying if it's the transistor that activates all the other lights when it becomes energized. So yes, and that's how you're able to put multiple of these lights onto one pin, because you're not overpowering the pin current-wise at 12 milliamps. This will amplify the current to what you need. So let's see, I got yellows here, and while I do yellows, I'll relay the same to the Brazilian people watching. Então, Silvio, é certo, é o transistor que aumenta as amperes que tá saindo dessa placa aqui, porque essa placa aqui não tem muito amperes. Então, tudo que você põe nesse transistor, ele aumenta. Tem transistor que aumenta mais de 100 vezes a amperes. Senão você queima. se eu ponho 2 desses LED só num lugar aqui, queima. Então, dessa maneira, eu posso pôr um monte sem queimar. Cada um é que nem uma chave. Quando vem o sinal da placa e fala, ilumina os vermelhos. Então, a chave abre a conexão para os vermelhos. Frank's World TV is here. Hello, welcome, and Merry Christmas. We are making internet-controlled Christmas ornaments. Hopefully this ain't the beginning of Skynet. Seriously, if we wake up after Christmas and Skynet is here, not one of you are to mention my name or this stream. Be like, Rachel, yeah, we don't know her. We don't know her. And her, like, Skynet-causing ornaments. All right, guys, I think we have the majority. Our white one needs a transistor. I mean, a resistor. All these Ister names. So Dave is saying all those conventions you're using is a thing I use all the time. Prototyping layouts look better, troubleshooting goes faster, and even updating and repairing is more accurate. It is just starting, like, because if you can illuminate, I'm undoing the legs because I forget which one I did. Okay, so the positive is on the left. All right. Because if you can illuminate one, then you can illuminate others, you know? And if you all of a sudden just decide, yeah, I'm going to put a whole bunch of lights and some of them are illuminating, some of them aren't, then you don't really know what the heck is going on. And then you got to, oh no, my transistor. It was like, yeah, I'm out of here. Like Rachel telling me I got to work, and then there's something about Skynet coming. Heck no. I don't want to be a part of any of that. Oh, yes, you will. All right. Little 3 legs. Let's get you in here. It is fighting me. It's like wiggling its legs, you know, like when you want to put your cat in a crate because you have to take it to the vet in its little carrying case. It's like kicking around like, no, you're going to take me to the vet. And you're like, no, not really. We're going to go on a fun ride. I don't know any cats that like the vet. They're just like, yeah, no. Dogs, on the other hand, they're like, oh, they kind of forget. And then when they get there, at least mine, they start to remember, like, wait a minute, I remember this, something seems off. And then they're squirming. But they're 3 legs, I gotcha. All right. And also bending them different directions help, unlike just what I did, is bending them all the same direction, then they can fall up. There we go. So let's see if we got all of our main components using our board kind of as a guide. So we got red LEDs, green, blue, and yellow. We got our little star up top. Everyone has a transistor for our LEDs. Each one of our transistors have a resistor. Oh my gosh, guys. Each LED has its resistor. Each transistor has its resistor. Oh my God, we can rhyme now. Listen, don't make me do another buzzer song. We can do a resistor transistor song. All right, we have our board. The buzzer is a pain in the butt, but we can at least, I usually leave him off till the very end because his legs don't bend very well. And the solder holding these little legs together is pretty bad, I learned. So also carefully, I just very tiny bend them out because they don't quite fit the orientation, either breadboard or this guy right here. And so the positive, I think on the other one, I kind of put facing up. So, you know, he can kind of go here. Maybe he'll stay. We'll see if he stays. I like the spacing on this one a lot better than the other one. So this one's looking pretty good. All right, so we got our buzzer lights. So it looks like our buttons. So it looks like all we have to do is just our connections. And I think the transistors are the most annoying. So what we can do is start with, we'll do one transistor and we won't necessarily solder anything on this board. I'd like to go to the other board, show you guys how far I got, and then see if we can like finish up the other board. So with this one, let's see, I used orange for the light signal leads. So we can do something like that. So the reds are gonna have to go all the way up in here, and I'll move this up so you guys can look. So the reds are gonna have to go from this resistor all the way like somewhere in this vicinity right here. So when I started, I just took some of these long ones, and one of the things you have to watch out for, because these are these jumper cables, is see the bend. You don't want to bend these over and over again because they break. So kind of gotta put it in. I do a very light bend on the bottom, and then I don't know, let's just use our imagination. Like clearly this one's not going to be long enough, and I try not to put them over components like that. That's like a electronics no-no. Not that I did not commit that atrocity here. You know, look at that poor transistor. I was going to say resistor. Yeah, good luck getting him out. But, you know, this project is more decorative than anything else. It's a festive Christmas. So I'll try and do less of that for here, but there's enough space. These bend, so you can certainly bend them out of the way and still be able to get that resistor out. So because all of our oranges are going to be connected, let me just lightly bend this guy, and all going to be connected on this side of the board. That means there's going to be no orange on here. So what, for decorative purposes only, like you would never, you know, do this normally, but I think I'm going to take this hole here, and like I did on the other one, swing it up here, swing it over here, then maybe kind of swing it over here, and then take a long one and connect it. Couple swings, you know, again, the more connections you have, the more, you know, trouble spots you're creating. But we are, you know, going more for looks than for function, although we do want it to function, you know, for sure. But let's see. So maybe I'll take like I got kind of like this small guy over here. And I also have some tweezers. And let's create one. Because if I create one, you'll kind of see how I did the others. And there's no wrong, right, I mean, way to do this. As long as it works. That's what I say. You know, and you just get better over time. So I kind of pre-bent it. And I'm going to put this guy here. And then maybe he kind of, and I'm trying to keep like a Christmas tree in mind with all the trimmings and these little tinsels that people put. And I'm just very lightly bending them on the other side. So there we go. So now we have to connect from here. Maybe there's kind of a blank spot over here. So maybe we can kind of go over here with another short one. You can mix and match colors, although that would drive me crazy. If we ever have to troubleshoot this, that's gonna make life quite difficult. You can also cut these and make your own length, which is what I think I'm gonna do here. Let me see if there's any kind of broken ones. You know, here's one clearly that I had bent. And so what we can do is this guy has to be, there's no rule that you have to be on the hole right next to him. It makes life a lot easier, soldering wise. So actually that hole maybe I want to reserve for this resistor right here and maybe have room for a connection there. So maybe something like, let's see, maybe he can even come over here. That's looking pretty nice. And maybe he can, oh, maybe he can kind of come like this and then up and over. And a Bounty Hunter Breaks on Twitch is saying, hate to break it to you, but Skynet would already know. Oh, that is, yeah, you know, you're right there. And Dave Beck is saying, listen, mister, don't make my resistor be a transistor. It'll give you a blister. Oh, we got music producer in the house. Let's see. And this little loose tooth situation is always annoying. And sometimes I have to move him around. That's why I'm not soldering him in, because trust me, the urge is there to just solder him in. That's looking pretty good. And I think we can maybe go over here, all the way over here. So yes, probably not something you would turn into school. Like, look at this spaghetti mess. All right, that's kind of nice, the way it goes across there. And now we're making our way. I think we can take another long one without having to cut it. And I'll just kind of go from here. Maybe we do have to cut it. Let me take a look at where this one goes in. Gotta count the pins, because I certainly can't see. So this one looks like it's going into D8. Yes, D8. So where is D8? Oh dear people. I think it's this one. Famous last words. Oh, I think. So that looks a little bit weird. So even with some tweezers, we can either cut it short or see if there's a way to kind of make it look kind of festive. You know, maybe something like that. Might look kind of neat. Yeah. Having different lengths definitely adds visual appeal, so you're not stuck with the same kind of, you know, factory lengths that these come in. But for demonstration purposes, you see kind of like what I did. And painstakingly, so that means that our red is connected now via our transistor. So now we would then move on to the green, do the same thing, wind it till it comes here. And in essence, you would do all of them. So what I did was all the positives and signals on one side of the board, and my very first prototype of this, where I didn't solder anything, I just kind of laid it out, I did do all the negatives. The problem is the wire pile started to pile up, and it was like thick to the point that you could almost barely see there's a circuit board, you know, back there somewhere. So I thought, you know what, the grounds, to be more traditional, we're gonna keep them the browns and grays that I have here. I figured we could put them in the back or use solder blob lines. I usually like to use you know, wires, because that's 2 points you have to disconnect versus like wicking an entire blob line. But that is a to each his own type of thing. The blob lines definitely more dependable, you know, than wires. Wires can break, they can twist off. Spigot, welcome Spigot. So what I'm hearing, there is no wrong or right ways, just maybe better ways. Yes, there's always better ways than the way I'm doing it. I will tell you that right now. Here we like to prototype a lot of stuff, and then I take a lot of your ideas and we try and put them in real time. So if you have suggestions, ideas, or light colors, just definitely don't be afraid to post. And Silvio is saying, let's see here. So he's asking if this type of circuit can turn on lamps, bigger lamps. Yes, but you would need beefier stuff than these little resistors. So, então, Silvio, essa mesma ideia pode funcionar com o que você está dizendo, usando esse circuito para acender lâmpadas maiores e também fazer um desenho ou uma acende e apaga, aí outra acende e apaga. Então você pode fazer uma variedade de desenhos, mas você vai precisar transistores maiores, que pode fazer mais coisa. Mas sim, pode fazer essa mesma ideia, você pode roubar ela e tentar fazer você mesmo. Alright. Eu também roubo muitas ideias, então a gente vai aprendendo. Alright, so what did I say? I don't know. But where am I is what I meant. So we have our major components put on this guy, and I like where they are, so I can just quickly get them all soldered. But like I was saying, I'm kind of curious about like wrapping this one up and see what happens. So I have the soldering iron fired up, and I can kind of show you guys kind of like where all this is. Oh, and Dave, that's the word I was looking for. Relays. So yes, you can use Arduino to turn things on and off by hooking them up to relays, like our bubbler and our fog machine for our Franken lightning detector. Every so often, the fog machine goes off, and so I have a relay between the Arduino with a timer, that says, hey, every so often, set off the fog machine, and it's controlled via a relay. So let's see here. So much the same layout, and you can see that the same way we wired this transistor here that is controlling the red lights, the resistor is connected to the base of the transistor, and then from here you can see that this orange wire comes out, kind of goes underneath this red one, connects here, then connects to this orange wire here that does this fancy pattern. This orange wire then picks it up, and where does he go? He connects underneath the spaghetti mess, where then this wire picks up and continues all the way over here. So that's how we got our reds to work, which is much different than the design that we came here. I'm kind of liking this design better because it's less connections. There's a whole lot of connections going on for just that one signal. So I'm digging this layout a little bit better. And you can see for our green transistor, same deal. We have our resistor, which connects to this orange line here, follows this orange line around, and he does a whole thing, and he connects right to the pin. So that one doesn't have a lot of connections. It just looks fancy, but it's not, because I bent it a lot. And then this transistor controls our blue LEDs right here. And he's got his resistor on the base right there. He's hiding. And he connects to this orange wire right here, which loops around, connects here, which then jumps to this orange wire and then connects to the pin. And then finally, our yellow LED transistor, or I guess our blue is this one and our yellow is this one. And it hooks to this orange wire, which jumps to this orange wire, which goes directly to the pin. So the only one that's super fancy, and probably the light, if it's going to give me issues on this design, are the red ones, because it does a whole bunch of fancy things and a lot of connections before it gets to the pin. So more damage points is what you're adding. So that's, pretty much how I did all of these. And then of course, for our buttons, we have our red button here. They're always going to be the yellows. And so, yeah, you can see a little bloopy solder there, little beginner mistakes going on there. But you follow this yellow wire. It then jumps to this yellow wire, which jumps to this yellow wire and connects to the pin. Then we have our green button for music, and you have the yellow wire, and it just connects to the pin. So that one's pretty easy. So you can kind of get an idea here, like our buzzer's pretty fancy. It goes up here, then connects to this wire, which connects down here, finally connecting to this wire, which goes to the pin. So couple fanciful things, going on. I'll probably keep the other one a little bit simpler, and finally we have our lonely white LED that operates independently of these guys. It's not tied to any transistor. So he's wired up like a regular old LED through the resistor. Then he's got this pretty little wire that goes right to the pin. And so you can see I started to wise up as I built this. And rather than have all these fancy connections, I started to bend the wire in fancy ways. I'm like, that way you're minimizing the connections and it still looks pretty cool. And this wire lays pretty flat, so it's not gonna like really snag on anything. So guys, it looks like all my signals and my positives are all done. And you can see the little legs for the negatives here. So we can start trying to connect all this stuff. So for this, I'm going to move everything out of the way. We're going to bring the soldering iron and see kind of how this thing goes. And I have this magnifying glass. I will kind of switch the camera settings if I have to, so you guys can kind of be able to see it. And I have the shortest soldering cable in the world. And let me just, I may be standing for a lot of this, so it's going to be Rachel head cutoff day. Just so I can see up and over this, because this requires not only my eyeballs, all right, but my eyeball glasses, but it also requires a big old magnifying glass, which is like super dirty. So let me see if I can turn this around, see if you guys see it. Now, for you guys, that is looking all kinds of blurry. So let me see if I can fix that for you. And let me cancel out of this menu here. There we go. And there we go. So I'm just focusing. Let me move that more. There we go. So I definitely will have to stand for this and just kind of hover over you guys. So there might be some big old heads coming up in the way like that. So hopefully I won't cover too much of what's going on, or at least be able to, explain it afterwards if I have to. So the idea here now is this LED here, or this little leg here, is for our white LED. That just has to go to some kind of common ground. So I'm going to hold off on that, and we can figure a place for a common ground on the board. And I'm thinking kind of sending it maybe down the middle of the board might be a way to do it. Let's see. Let's get an idea. And let me unmanual focus it here for a sec, so that way it focuses on this. So the idea is we need to create some kind of common ground that goes to a ground pin on here. So I'm going to flip this over and see what our ground situation looks like. So there's a ground pin, the second pin right there. So that's a ground pin right there that we can kind of get into. And you can see we can kind of come through here. It gets a little blobby, but I think if I send wires that kind of come here, convalesce here, and then go to a common ground might be the way to go. Although this guy's in the way to solder him. Or we can do like solder gloops, if we have to. But it might be kind of nice though. We have a lot of room on here on this side to do grounds. And if we were to have wires poking out and have some of these, then they kind of look like Christmas decorations, So that might be neat. So, and Suvio is saying SCR is widely used components in light sequences. And Dave is saying, oh, cool, for making LEDs dance to music. Oh, we haven't done sound activated LEDs yet. So this is just a hot mess. And so I think I'm going to concentrate on these areas here and this area here to convalesce all of our grounds. So that would be this side of the board where my hand is. So let's see. I'm liking this. So I almost might be able to put a wire from here to here, because these have to be connected to the transistor. At least, you know, one of these transistor pins. So I can almost, let's see if I can bend. This little guy has to connect to this guy. And it's going to be, that one connects to ground. It's going to be all the way over here, of course. So some of this takes a little bit of messing around to really get. And so we don't end up with a bunch of solder gloops. Let's see, maybe we can get this guy here. Connect him. Connect these two together. Whoop. Connect this lead and this end together there via solder. And let's then connect him, and it's almost impossible to see, but this transistor leg right there. Something like that. And Larry's saying you should try wire wrap. Oh, that doesn't sound good at all. At all. I used to put a bus down the middle for ground. Yeah, I think somehow we're going to go from here, and we're going to work our way here and tap into that pin right there. Oh, yeah, that ground pin. And there's a couple others too, if we need to kind of like come and then kind of like branch, if that should be the case. So I think I'm liking this. And let's see. Actually, I'm going to show you guys kind of what I'm doing. And I have these just to kind of snip some of these that are a little bit long. Make them more manageable. And so what I'm doing is taking this wire right here, you know, of course, that you guys can't see, right next to that transistor leg that we need to connect it to, and bending it down so it meets the same hole that the transistor is coming from. Now, people do different things. Like they'll just drag a blob of solder over, you know, without a wire going in between them. That, you know, it's the easiest. When you do that, it's easier to remove components. When you're doing it the way I'm doing it, which is like the beginner version, it's tougher to remove components. Even if you use a soldering wick, when you bend this over, it's tough to get all the solder off, and so you end up having to cut a lot of the components. But for the beginner standpoint, you have a wire and therefore a guide where the solder just goes, and so you're able to bridge these connections a lot easier. And we spend so much time trying to not bridge connections. And, you know, when you need to bridge the connection, of course, it's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do it. And you're fighting it. So once you get this positioned, then we can, I might actually just do this. And you see that I loop it up. You can kind of see it from this side, maybe a little bit. You know, he's popping through. So there's some interest going on back there. So I think what I'm going to do is, let me get him kind of better, more permanently positioned. And then we'll go for it. And this could take a bit just to finagle him. Let's see, what if I do put him in the hole, but not all the way? I'm just trying to figure out how to make a wire bridge, like beginner-friendly wire bridge. There we go, I think I did it. All right, so I'm gonna put him, just rest him on the floor here and find a way to see if you guys can see what I'm doing. So we're gonna do a couple of these, but like you can see, it's tough to film what's going on. But I wanted to at least show you guys how these are put together, so that way you can put them together on your own. I'm gonna pop the fan on right here. And you always want to tin your soldering iron because we are in close quarters. I find sometimes when I tin it, it bridges a little bit easier. So I'm gonna not tin it. And so let me remember, oh, the one we have to do on this side. So hopefully you guys will see what I'm doing and my head won't totally get in your way here. And oh, it's right here. Can you guys see that? No, let me move this. And let's see if I can. This might be a bit tough. I might have to do it and then kind of show you guys what I did. So I'm just heating up that joint there. And you don't want to touch the solder to the iron. You want to heat one side of, oh, I already am bridging things, aren't I? All right, so I'm gonna have to kind of turn this in a way that you guys probably won't be able to see, but at least I'll get this one done. Let me just make sure I didn't bridge anything that I'm not supposed to bridge, or if it's just like an empty hole. Ta-da! And what is this? Ah, yes, it's a big bunch of nothing. All right, good. Good. Actually, that might be where the resistor connects. All right, let me fix this joint. This is going to get tricky. This is going to get tricky. So I could do it in a way that you guys can also see, but that's kind of rough. It's been kind of rough. All right, so the idea is, let me do that. The idea is I'm going to be connecting this little lead here, this long lead, which is the negative, to this wire right there, which this wire then connects to that leg of our transistor. So really tough to see, but that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And it might be easier to do from up here. Now that I've got all my decorative stuff, it's like all up in the way now. So you can see why this is not a great way to do it. The decorative, you know, and why everything is kind of like put in the back. But let's see if I can get this done. Without touching, no touchies. And all right, so I got one end done, and now I'm doing the other, the transistor leg, and then I'm going to try and drag that blob over so they're both connected. And for this, I might have to do this, and I know for you guys it's like, What is she doing? I can't see anything. And that's why something like this, I'm going to start making tutorials a little bit easier to film, because you can change, you know, you can take the camera down and put it right up on the magnifying glass. Unlike here. All right. So it looks like I was able to bridge it. And one way to know is with our continuity. So anytime we have these like really tough joints, you can always use this to make sure you have a continuous connection. Let's see. And we do. So that's good, people. We got one down, and now we have to try and figure this one out. Which, oh, I might have a diabolical plan, which is not correct, you know, like the way you would really do it, but I think that'll be too, yes, it's too stiff. Never mind. Abort diabolical plan. Let's go back to our lame plan. I wish there was a way to put 2 wires in one hole. That would solve so many things. It's like almost. It almost wants to let 2 wires go in, but no dice. All right. And you don't want to sit there bending it back and forth too much, because then it can snap one of the little ends. So we'll go back to our original plan, which is getting this guy in this hole. There we go. And back in your little happy land. And folding this over. Now the idea is we're going to try and solder this hole right here and this hole. So just these 2 adjacent holes. And I'm using the wire kind of like as a little bridge thing. And we'll cut the rest off. All right, so let's see if I can do this in a way that doesn't upset the solder joint right next to it, because of course it's like wanting to bridge. It's like, yes, I know we shouldn't be together, but there's a mistletoe right here, and you know, it wants us to kiss even though we're not allowed to. And I'm like, nope, don't you do it. Don't you do it. Now that went smoothly, and I know you guys see a whole bunch of Rachel's head right now. It's like, wow, best stream ever. Not. And I'm just gonna bend that thing so it's like laying on the ground, basically. There. Now you will stick. You will stick. Sorry, insulation. All right, so I'm going to bring this up to you guys, and let me see. Oh, I did not do the manual focus, so this should focus up. All right, so if you look here, I have a blob connecting the 2. And so now that it's kind of cooled, the idea is we're going to take this lead here. And we're going to snip it. So now the negative of our LED is connected to the proper leg of our transistor. And to be sure, why don't we test it out, you know? So I'm going to move this out of the way. And test the connection. Where'd it go? And sometimes I like to put it on the stubby, the stubby of the LED and the actual wire, just to make sure there's no like air pockets or anything like that. And then I'm going to take this connection and go over here. So okay, that wire is connecting from one end to the other. All right, and finally we can test if the connection, which we already did, this connection here actually hits our transistor. And the other thing I did was that transistor has a third middle leg. Now, what if I over blobbed and some of that blob is touching the middle leg? So I want to make sure that this is not connected. And it's quiet. It's not. All right, guys. So, all right. So we got one ground connection done. And now we need to connect this little wire over here, this little guy, to the transistor's leg as well. And then you can take that, you know, connect all the transistors together and then take like a one giant one going onto here. And then the only other grounds we need to connect are like the button, the buzzer, and this LED. So the transistors, I think, are going to be the trickiest one to do, and connecting it to the right, you know, things. So I'm going to just take this and move it out of the way a little bit. Here we go. And which hole am I going to use? And I'm just making sure that I didn't goof. So yeah, it's this one, this side, that has all this stuff going on. And then this side just goes to common ground. The ones that just goes to common ground without having to, you know, circle through a couple other things, I'll do those last. All right, so Dave is saying I used the USB microscope camera thingy for a demo a while back. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, that worked pretty well because the image could go several devices, like a big monitor and a computer for recording. And Larry is saying I used to train new employees and learn how to inspect SMT PCBAs. All right, better not inspect mine. It's gonna fail. This is like, oh, QA, get the QA department down here. Look at this. This is like what not to do. All right, so now we're going to try and get this guy over here as well. And I'm just looking for a nice little candidate to put him in. And I think, let's see, any one of these will do. So I'm going to take another one of these because I think I can get it to bridge. And the idea is that if that is the transistor, maybe I can fit it in here. And he goes here. So there's a lot of this that happens, especially when you're getting to this stage where a lot of it is like connected already. So now it's like, oh, I gotta find the little holes that are left, whatever I can do to get it right. So, oh, maybe I can do this guy right here. Ooh, perfecto. So, where I poked him through, so this is our solder mess, and then I poked him through right in the hole next door. So all I'm going to do is bend him down. So he should be decently easy to do. I don't know. I don't want to promise. So he's bent into place. And now let's bend the other guy, which is connecting this. So I think this is going to be the toughest one. All right. What the heck is this? You know, when you have like stuff poking out and you're like, this makes no sense. Oh yes, this was from a resistor that I mistakenly put on here by accident. And then I had to use the, you know, the wick to get them off. All right, I'm going to take this little transistor leg, kind of get him out of the way. All right, so I think we should be good there. And let me just decorative, make a little loop. There we go. Hey, Jim Frozen. It was Jim Frozen with his margaritas when we were doing the phone build. Now I remember. So Jim, thank you so much for the $5. And happy holidays. Just got home last minute Xmas shopping. Oh my gosh. Total. I know what that's like. Last minute, and everyone's going crazy. The stores are closing. So guys, here we go again. And I may try this just without the magnifying glass. Oh, I'm living dangerously, people. And let's see if maybe I can just bring you guys in. There we go. Now it's going to want to focus on the soldering iron versus the actual, you know, piece. But hopefully that'll be a little bit better. And so I'm bridging these two right here. And let me go like that. Jim Frozen super chat says, keep it up. Yeah. Sometimes it's you just want to like put this down and be like, I'm over it, you know, but we are going to be insisting on this. And you know how much projects hate that. They're just like, ugh, give up already. I'm making it tough on you for a reason. All right, I'm going to heat the connection here. And see if I can go in a way that doesn't touch that awfully close joint. Which I'm realizing the spaghetti wire idea kind of made things a bit difficult. I'm not going to lie. I'll do some precision here. Let's see if I can get in here without disturbing this weld right there, or solder joint. Maybe if I heat the wire, it'll translate down. Yes. Ouch. Poor insulation is like, oh, you hurt me. I'm like, that's a little holiday love for you. There we go. So we're going to also make sure that these aren't bridged. So let it, ooh, a little hot. Let it focus up a little bit if it wants to. Any day now. It's like, yeah, no, I really don't want to show them what you just did because it's so bad. Like, I'm doing you a favor. Camera's like, listen, I am doing you a favor right now by not focusing on this horrific mess. So what we have here is this vertical weld right here sitting right next to this vertical weld right there. 1, 2. So let's make sure that there's no touching, no touching, no mistletoe action between the two of them. So let's make sure our connection is good first. So hopefully we get a beep. All right, the other connection, still good. Now let's cross connect. We hopefully will not hear anything. Loving that silence, people. So that's good. Now we have our grounds connected to hopefully the correct transistor base right here. So the other loose end of our transistor goes to a common ground. So I'm going to hold off on him right now. Let's connect up the LED grounds to that pin first. And we'll figure the rest of it out later. So here I have this one and this one. And so the greens will go to this transistor over here. And the leg we want is on our right, but when you flip it over, it's going to be on our left. So I'm going to prepare him by, maybe I'll get this guy up here. Oh, I think I know how I'm going to do this. So I got to meander him all the way over here. So let me see what I got going on. That is easy to bend. Let's see, how much craziness do I have going on this side? That is not going to be easy. So Bounty Hunter Breaks has a great product suggestion. He's saying a pair of Exolite pliers to assist with bending of the components like transistors and LEDs. Yes, I've been using tweezers, which works okay, but they're for like tougher components with stiffer legs. It's a little wimpy. A little wimpy. So the objective here is I was using the front and bending, but now we got a decorative orange wire. So I am kind of maybe kicking myself for making things so gosh darn pretty, you know? So I'm going to use a bit of a different method. Maybe just kind of lay this guy here. And I know that I need to connect this guy here. So this might actually be much easier to do with like stranded wire and insulation rather than through hole. We through hole the ones we need to through hole, and then the rest just kind of hug it down here might be a much better bet, because when we through hole and we stick the component up here and we go up here, well, look at all that decorative wire. There's no way I can stick a tip in there. So yeah, we're going to have to get a little bit creative with this because, and I think stranded wire will be a lot easier. So let me dig out some stuff for us. And let's see here, stranded wire. Let me see where I put all my goodies. So I disappear for you guys for a little bit here until I have a chance to see what I got going on down here. So let me grab, I'm not going to put you guys on intermission. Let me grab that for our stranded idea. I'm going to grab heat shrink tubing and I'm going to grab some colored wire. So here we go. This is my music. Intermission music. All right, let's see. I got this and I got this. All right, I'm back. So normally, if we didn't have all these wires up in the front here, this would be a ton easier. We can just like, look at all these holes that we have to use. But alas, we can't use them because like to get a tip up in this mess right here, or even like up in this mess, a little tough. A little tough. Oh, you guys can still see my hat, which is awesome when I was bending down. So I have these colors, and why don't we do ground? Let's see, what is festive? Because we're going to know that any wire in the back is a ground. So I guess it can be any color we want. We have yellows. We do not have blues, people. So why don't we use blue as ground? And let's just cut this here. Strippy stripperoo. And I'm going to back this up just so you guys kind of see what I'm preparing here. And kind of move that ugly thing out of the way. And I have colored heat shrink tubing, but I think we'll stick with regular black. So let's see what we're going to do here. So we got 2 of them successfully because we found spots where we don't have too much congestion. But in order to get these, look at this congestion here. There is no way we're going to be able to find like a through hole here without seriously like damaging all this. Here, we're probably good. We could probably find a through hole on this side, but not the other side. So I will veto and simply, you know, do the yield stranded idea. So this one now needs to connect. So he's going to be a little bit fat in the back. You know, he's gained some holiday weight. So this one is connected to this one, so he can be cut. Once a joint is good and tests good on the multimeter, I cut the excess, so I know not to go back to it. So that one is done, and now we're working on the greens, which goes to this transistor, which on the left, so it needs to hook up on the right. All right, so we have to bridge a very, very tiny area, and I'll bring you guys kind of like a little bit closer just to show you. We need to bridge this guy right here, this pin, with this sticking up pin right here. And yeah, it's a shame. There's like not much room. This one I might be able to. I'm very tempted to just get them to touch and solder. That's so bad, people. Oh, that's terrible, terrible soldering. Just get them to touch and solder. Nope. I will resist the urge to do that. So let's cut a very like short piece here. Something like this, something kind of festive. Now this one doesn't have the same like bendability that the other one does. And not really the way circuit boards are done, but because Rachel decided to be all fancy with her wires, it's the way she's stuck doing it. I might actually be able to put 2 of them in here. Come to think of it, I got an idea, people. No, I'm still gonna have to blow through this this red wire. So idea retracted. Idea retracted. Let's see if I can. I may need helping hands for this, but of course. Oh, I twisted it the wrong way. No! Oh, put them there. That way you guys didn't see. I mean, I twisted it the right way. I didn't do it the wrong way. All right, if I can get this twisted to hold itself, I can solder him into place and then put a little sleeve on him. All right, this is the weirdest soldering I've ever done. Vertical soldering. And for this, I will tin and clean this gross tip. Yeah, don't move. Okay, I'm just gonna let it do its thing there. So I have this wire basically soldered to the negative LED leg, and we are going to be using a little piece of heat shrink. People, I didn't forget it this time. It's a tiny piece. See if he was liking my setup. It's like, oh, you got a bunch of stuff there. Okay, so this one's too little. Oh, gotta find the right size. And let me cut him. All right. And he is going to go over to, since he's ugly, I'm going to lean him this way. And he's going to wrap around our leg. But before I do that, I'm going to get the other one here so that way they can wrap together. So this one's going to connect to the transistor leg that it needs to, and this guy over here needs to connect to the same leg. So I might as well kind of jump them together. Sim, Silvio, eu tenho... Demorou acumular todas essas coisas, essas ferramentas, mas pouco a pouco. All right, so are we green? Yes, we're on the green. So kind of the same thing. Like, for real, PCB people are like, what the heck is going on here? I'm like, I was just trying to make it pretty. Oh. So we need a nice tight hold on this, because I don't know that my helping hands can hold something like this unless I just lean it. I might be able to just lean it like that and solder it together. Double negatives. Do this without burning myself too. So there's a lot of challenges today. There's the can I A, not burn myself, and B, get past this pretty wiring idea I had, which is now like, haha, that's what you get. All right, so what happened to my solder? There we go. It's tin-tin-a-roo. Tin-tin-a-roo. Here we go. All right. So we have the negatives, each have a wire, and the idea is we are going to, I think I'm going to join these negatives and then put it on the tip. So I'm going to cut this guy a little long. And one thing we can do is when we're done this atrocity, we can hot glue these down, so that way they're not like poofed out or anything like that. So this will wrap like this. I hope you guys follow what I'm doing. And let me get another, let's see, another one of these. Oh, it's about this long. Now I'm going to get this guy on here first, which I never do. You all know that. Wrong one. Get him on here. All right, so all things are protected, and now somehow I have to flip this over, and actually let me get this soldered. I was already moving ahead. It's a standing upstream. There we go. So doing the wires didn't take a whole heck of a lot of time, but now this, once you figure out your design, but this is where you pay for it. This is where you pay for your pretty design. It's like, oh, how nice of you to have such a pretty design. So, did I forget a, I forgot a thingy there, didn't I? Yes, I did. Oh well. I want to shorten this. I want to shorten this anyway. So yeah, I did forget a thingy. And now we're gonna try and bend this to go around this leg. Let me just double check that that's the leg. Oh, I was about to go on the wrong leg. Oh, people. All right. Ooh, Bounty Hunter has a great idea. Cover the back of the board with some foam tape to insulate the connections. Yeah, I think that'll be easier than doing what I'm trying to do, which is really tough. I'm surprised I'm even seeing any of this stuff, like with my eyes. All right, so yeah, I'm thinking either the foam or just some like hot glue over the connections just to call it a day. All right, so theoretically that giant blob should have connected us. And because of the heat, our poor heat shrink got a little shrunk. So he's not going to be covering anything anytime soon. But let's just see if this thing even like works. And then I'll come back and come up with a different idea for these backings. So we have our greens connected. We have our reds connected. So all we have to do now is work our way through these LEDs, and here is our blue connection. And so we want to connect to this one right here, right? Yes. So I will raise him up just so we know what's what. And so we got to go from here to here somehow. So what I think I'm going to do instead, let's see, maybe I can, and what's my room? Ooh, look at that. I got no room for through holes here. So we're just gonna have to keep going with this weird method here. Let's just keep joining. Our little LED leg. Then we'll find a way to insulate the back of this thing better than what I'm doing now. It may be either the foam or some hot glue. Dave is like, use some elven magic to connect some of them wires. It's getting to that point, I am not gonna lie. Some elven magic. All right. So that is connected, and we are going to connect it to this guy here. So these two will be connected like that. And we go like this. Oh, I think I have an idea, guys. I think I have an idea. This might be a good one or terrible. We're about to find out. And maybe if I flip myself. There we go. Put me over there. That way, like, I'm standing right. I'm like working with it on the side there so you guys can see. But this is much better. Let's see. And whatever heat shrinks I forget, well, I will just have to use some hot glue. Let's see if this little guy will fit. Well, it might fit. And for these, I'm not really cutting any of the leads, just to kind of give me as much room as possible to deal with everything. Oh, that's my Discord going off. Some of you guys be posting things. All right, so we have our thing there, and I'm going to strip this guy. And the idea is I'm only going to wrap it on part of our connection here. Part of our lead coming out of the LED, and then the other half of the lead will be another wire that goes to the transistor. Let's see if that idea works. I mean, it looks nicer. It looks a little cleaner, you know? Let's see here. But the elven magic is looking real good. I will call upon the elves, the Christmas elves, to come help me out here. Stop making toys. Like, you had your chance. If you haven't gotten the toy done by now, you're not going to get it done. So come help me get this done. And there. It's like, Rachel's so mean to the elves. All right, I will put a thing on this, like a heat shrink, after I get this joint done and before it goes on the transistor. So help me remember, guys. Don't let me goof it. All right, so I'm doing vertical soldering, which is odd. Usually, you know, you're going like horizontal, or the piece you're working on is horizontal. Although I've seen some PC builders go in all kinds of weird directions, so good for them. I'm trying to get to PC builder level, which I am far from right now. All right, so where was I? Oh, I was on this atrocity right here. So basically I took the negative LED lead, wrapped the other LED lead, negative lead on the bottom portion of the big old lead, and then now I'm wrapping an extra wire on the top of the big old lead, and then this wire will then connect to the transistor. So I think that's an easier way than trying to create a T like this, and it becomes super bulky, and to make that turn, oh, it just ain't gonna happen. Or at least for me, it ain't gonna happen. It's much more complex. So let's see, red, green, blue, red, green, blue, and just to see blue, yes. So that's that, and that means it's this leg. It's the right leg for me, which means it's the left leg. And so I'm going to just put this little leg like that so I don't get confused. All right, and that is the yellow. So red, it was like red, green, blue, and I'm just following the wire. Blue, yeah, because then that's yellow. Red, green, blue. All right, so this end now needs to connect to here. So before I connect it, I'm going to put a heat shrink, couple heat shrinks on it, but something like this. And I'm kind of like overcutting, making them kind of long, which is going to make a spaghetti mess in the back, but we'll figure it out. I'll kind of tack everything down if I have to with glue. So let's see what I got here in terms of shrinkage. And let's see how well this one fits. We'll do a test fit. That might be a little bit small, or a little, you know, not wide enough. So let's go one wider, the straw size. Actually, didn't I do this size? Yeah, this is like the little old-fashioned bourbon drink style straw. This is more like the margarita party straw. So we're gonna move on to margarita party straw time, and that should be enough, big enough for our purposes. So I'm gonna put one party straw size there, and for our transistor I'm gonna put another one. We'll go back to the bourbon drinking size. And I'll cut, you know, maybe something like that. So I'm going to leave him. Oh, no, I'm not going to leave him there. I'm actually going to put him right on so I don't forget. There we go. Do we have kind of a fully insulated joint? Wow. Okay, red, green, blue, and it's this guy on the right. Yeah. So I'm going to fumble. You guys can watch me fumble this, trying to wrap it around in hilarity. So Silvio is ready to hear the music and watch the LEDs go. Me too. See, maybe with helping hands rather than what I'm trying to do is wrap it around, which is proving impossible. Maybe I can just use helping hands to hold the board and lay the wire right over where I need it to lay. go. And I'm going to back you guys on up just so you guys kind of see the mess that I'm making. And there we go. Dave says you're making me thirsty with the beverage references. Oh, yeah, me too. I think that would make this soldering project go much more splendidly. Let's see, maybe I can just lean back. And where is he? Oh, I was smelling something cooking, and it was the soldering iron. I'm wondering if I can just hold it. I'm gonna try that, and this could be bad. It never works, the just holding it method. But let's see if we get lucky. Oh, I thought I could get it to balance. So no, we're not getting lucky. So I'm going to go back to the winding it around method. I guess to test it, we can also use jumpers. And clamps. And kind of see if our connections, at least the way I'm thinking of connecting it, will work. But yes, the old-fashioned, although common, you know, is one of my favorites. And different places make it different, whether it be with club soda. Sometimes they put too much simple syrup. I'm not a huge fan of simple syrup. I kind of like mine less sweet. I like the cherry, but the dark red cherry, not the the bright red cherry. Although the bright red cherry does have its places in the drink world. I'm not going to say no. It definitely does. Oh, I got it. All right, some vertical. But here's the kicker, and where bartenders will differ, and sometimes they'll look at me funny, like, ugh. I like my dark cherry muddled. Oh, yeah. And supposedly, a lot of bartenders are like, that is not proper old-fashioned making. But I like it. It adds a good flavor, nice orange, and a good bourbon, of course. And for those of you that are tequila drinkers, try a tequila old-fashioned. I am not going to lie. They are very, very good. So if you're not into bourbon and you like, you know, the white liquids, I encourage you to try that. Guys, we did it, and we got all the joints insulated. Very rare for Rachel. Extremely rare. So we have the reds, we have the greens, we have the blues, all going to their correct thing. Now let's get the yellows, and I'm going to use the same method because it seemed to work the best. And I'm going to jump. Let's see. Here is our transistor. And it's this leg right here. So I'm going to go ahead and lift that leg while leaving all the other ones, down. All right, so using my blue again, I want to repeat what I just did. Let's go ahead and jump our last set of lights. And then somehow I need to tie them to a common ground. So let's not forget that. Everything needs to go to a common ground. The powers are already going to common power, so, or, you know, all the board's powers, common power. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of vertical soldering. A new technique for tonight. Now we can also do lines of blobs. That's another way to do it. But I think with all the stuff going on in the front, I think it's rather difficult as well, because you're gonna have to make a lot of twists and turns to avoid stuff. So not quite sure what the best solution is. If it's this ugly solution right here, well, the solution is, you know, not to have the pretty wires, but I think it's worth it. It was worth it. I think it looked good. All right. And, oh, guys, Shrinky-Dinks. I forgot to put the little shrinks. Do you guys remember that that product, the Shrinky-Dinks, where you would put them in the oven and they would like shrink into these little designs and things like that? They were cool. I thought it was magic at the time. It's like, wow. All right, guys. We are doing it. Vertical soldering is a new thing. That way you can go tell everybody, like, you solder like horizontal, you're so passe. Like, the vertical soldering is the new thing, so get with the program. So not cool. All right, so now I'm going to jump this guy. Jump around. Dave, remember Shrinky-Dinks? So Sylvia is saying this is the first Christmas, at least in Brazil, that everyone can be together. So I know a lot of people are getting together. Let's see, some in smaller groups, some in larger groups. Let's see here. É mesmo, Silvio? Finalmente. Então você vai estar com a casa cheia esse ano? Ou só algumas pessoas da família? E, mais importante, o que vocês vão comer? Esse é o mais importante. I asked Silvio what he's going to eat, because I'm like, you know, whether you're having a big gathering or small gathering, let's face it, what the most important thing is. And that is the food. I love holiday food. Oh my gosh. Thanksgiving with the turkey. Not the cranberry stuff. That goes with the fruitcake. I totally don't get what the heck that is. And so yeah, that stuff gets put on the side. And what did I say? I need the margarita drinking straw level for this joint right here. And we're just going to... Now, where am I going? I forget. So why did I put these transistors so far away? Now I'm going to totally up the design for the next one. And so this guy now is going to have to go over here. So, and don't forget the Shrinky-Dinks. Don't forget the Shrinky-Dink. So I need to get this margarita straw. One over here. So the back of this thing is not very Christmassy. That is not happening, but that's okay. No one sees the back. And remember, we told them not to look at the back, or else the lasers will get you. And Dave is saying, and I remember song Run Around 80s music rules. Yes, it does. It had like, you know, especially for the time when all, ooh, I need another one. Guys, I get to talking and look what happens. Especially for the time with all the synths and people were experimenting with electronic music. It was a cool time. And today, all music is pretty much electronic anymore. So the 80s people kind of knew what was coming down the pike. So I cut it and I didn't put it on. That's the worst. Like when you at least made an attempt, but you know, like you were moving towards a direction of putting your heat shrink on, but no, alas, foiled. Why are you so scrawny, little legs? I just want to wrap this around you. Don't be scrawny. People. And you guys are like, listen, don't people me. You're the one who got yourself into this situation, being all like pertified with your wiring. Now look, it ain't so pretty now. Enjoy your lack of pretty in the back. Well, you know what they say. We've got a festive party in the front, business in the back. So it's like the reverse mullet of what we're doing here. Reverse mullet wiring. All right, almost. This I remember with the other one. Luckily, this is our last one. Was impossible. I don't know what I ended up doing. I think I ended up just like barely wrapping it and just letting the solder kind of do its thing, which normally you want to make a good mechanical joint and then solder. But in our purposes, we're just going to make a solder joint without the mechanics as much, since the thing back here is not going to take a whole ton of impact anyways. So I think we'll be good. There we go. Yes. Why didn't you do that just the very first time? Why did you have to be so difficult? There we go. Vertical soldering. With my biggest giant pieces of tubing that you can get. It's like, can you cut longer tubing? Why, yes, I can. Challenge accepted. Right, I don't want to take the solder all the way down because then it could interfere with another joint, and we don't want that. All right. Okay, guys, so we have jumped a lot of stuff, and I'm just going to take my soldering iron and make sure that we are not bridging something we shouldn't be bridging. Let's see, that is the middle. There's a little bit of a bridge. Just going to remove it. This bridge over troubled water right here's got to go. And are we unbridged? Ooh, just about. All right. Looking good. Looking good. And Ooh, he's sharp. All right, guys. So, not too pretty, but kind of can't see what's going on from the front, which is nice. You know, we can tuck away whatever we see and kind of get it to bend to our whim. And then you have kind of a nice thing going on here. So I am going to continue this. And how many more do we have? So now that we have all of our blinky lights connected to the proper leg of our transmitter, our transistor, we still have a couple grounds to do that. We can kind of unite all of them. So we can unite this LED here. We can unite the negative from our buzzer, and we can unite the negatives from our buttons right there. So I am still not digging this joint here. Let me use the unsoldering braid. Desoldering braid, unsoldering braid, which is just gonna suck up some of that solder, because what's happening is that blob is kind of where the base is with the resistor. So all I'm gonna do is lay this guy on top and kind of deblob a little bit. It's over blobbed. Yes, it's hot. And so what it does, it just sucks up the solder, which to me is so much better than using this thing right here. This thing is horrible. I don't know about you guys. Have any of you guys been able to use this thing successfully? I mean, I pump it, I arm it, it's ready to go. But then I fumble, and it never works out right. Oops. Or if you twist it in the very least, it pops off like that. So I'm not a huge fan of that thing. So I don't know if anyone is like, I don't know what you're talking about, Rachel. It's the best thing ever. I use it all the time. I just suck up all my wet molten solders. No problem. So I don't know what your problem is. All right. So what I've done here. Perfecto. Now I'm just going to raise this for you guys to see kind of what I did. And if you look at this horrific vertical joint here, right next to it, right there is where the base connects. And so what happened is these two were bridged. And so let me see if I have to add a little more solder back to the base, because I might have over removed the solder. But let's see if we have a connection, because if we do, then I'm just going to leave it. And it's grainy because my hands are not holding it absolutely still. So, all right, and I'm going to check from the base to where I just removed. No sound, so we're good, people. All right, so that's good. Bloop. All right, guys, so we have this. I'm going to flip him up. This guy now needs to go to this and this. So we have a triangle here, triangulation, that need to come together. Then they also need to connect the buttons, which are in here somewhere. They're almost impossible to see. So right here. And do we have any room? No, we don't. I keep wanting to through-hole solder on this side, you know, but nope, it is just not going to happen. So let's continue our atrocity here. And also with the blue, let's see what we can kind of muster up here. So I'm thinking with these emitter legs, and then it's got to also connect to another emitter leg, which is over here. So this quadruple, 1, 2, 3, 4, need to connect. And then maybe we can connect all them to ground, and then we'll figure out the rest. We'll just kind of leave like an open, you know, an open thing. And then we're somehow just going to, ooh, I have an idea, guys. For down here, I might be able to strip one of these guys and just run him down and just solder. That might be easier to do than the idea that was boiling in my head. So let's see. This goes to here, then to here. Here, here, here. And then here. So we're better off going. I'm just kind of studying this before I go for it. And here. All right, that's what I'll do. Let's connect all these guys together. How many grounds do I have? A lot of times I like to group things by category, like put all the transmitter on the same ground going to a ground, then put the LED and the buttons and the buzzer kind of onto their own thing. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to group everybody kumbaya together, and I'll put a heat shrink here in a bit. Let me just get this soldered up. But we're going to kumbaya everybody together. A ground kumbayaing. Then we can kind of see where we are with it. No. And I learned my lesson. Don't go all the way to the base of the board, because then you end up bridging things, and then you have to use the unsoldering wick, desoldering wick. All right, we'll just keep that vertical there. All right. All right, so we got there, and then the next victim is going to be this guy right here. So that is a short jump. Grab like something about this size. Let me test it. Oh yeah, it's testing pretty good. Put them on there before I forget. Don't do the prepare and then not use it. And Dave is right. Shrink tubage? Yes, it is prepared. And I'll probably need another one. And And so, where are you? We got you. Here you are. It's impossible to see you guys. These little legs. Actually, I'll go in like that. I think I have a better idea. Let me just see something here. The goop solder does not. Let me unsolder this for a sec. I think I have a better idea of how to handle this. Dust it in here from when I was cutting out these little boards here. So the objective is to simply unite all these guys. So I think I'm going to do one big long one here with access points. So this one going from here is going to be like this. And then the others will merely tap into it. Instead of trying to daisy chain them all together and trying to make these weird, like, impossible turns. Everyone will just tap into this line. So I left this back portion for the stream rather than the front, simply because I thought, heck, there's just a couple grounds. Right? Nope. Did not foresee the issue that my pretty wiring caused up top. All right. No touchy. We got jiggle joint. The worst kind of joint, jiggle joint. All right. So that's pretty nice. Not touching anything else. And now we need a little bit of a thang over on that side. This one needs to tap into here. Struggle is real, people. Let's see if I can master this. I usually end up butchering the wire. Cutty cut cut. Nice. I'm just going to cut through the insulation on this side. Nice. I created an access point. So I mean, I almost just want to wrap it like this and not run a wire from it to the access point, which is probably what I should do, but almost just like wrap it like that. All in all, I'm kind of like curious to test this in the real world. Like, have people take this home, see if we can all connect, and, you know, send each other Christmas cheer. I think that would be pretty cool. So you guys see kind of like, hopefully you see what I'm attempting to do here. And this will be interesting to insulate, but I think I can do it with some hot glue, which is, you can see I've started here with heat shrink tubing. And, ooh, my tummy's grumbling, it's getting hungry. And here I cut like an access point within the wire, wrapped it around the leg coming out of our transistor, and I'm just going to move this wire along, kind of like calculating where I need to make another break in the wire or expose, and continue going all the way down until we hit our, hit our ground. So I think, in fact, I may undo all these and use this type of method. And then all you have to do then is just put a little goop of hot glue right there, just every time you have these connections, rather than doing what the heck this is I'm trying to do with these ugly, it's great for partying, the margarita straws and my old-fashioned drinking straws and stuff. But I think this is going to be a much cleaner run. So you have one with then each down this center, everyone can tap in here. And just make like little naked spots along this wire that everybody taps into, and boom, it goes to ground. So after all that, I think we got a plan, guys. We got a plan to get this done. But listen, my tummy's gurgling. I know your tummy is gurgling, and we're one step closer. We are like so close. And guys, I am feeling the Christmas spirit. So guess what? I am actually making a few of these. And now that I figured out how I'm going to do these grounds, this one's going to be laid out a little bit differently. Still with this nice stuff, but it's going to, have more access points, I guess. So, we improve the more we make, but this one's got the most amount of love to it, because it was the first baby, and so we all love our first, like, from prototype to attempted trial creation. And so far we don't have any bridging. I've tested all the connections, so all that is looking really, really good. So I'm going to use my new technique here. But like I was saying, I am feeling the Christmas spirit. So guys, I would love to try this out in the real world. And Christmas Eve is tomorrow. Christmas is tomorrow. I would love to put 2 of these in the mail for 2 lucky people. I'd like to reward my Wrench Army members. And we see the same faces coming back week after week. We have Larry, we have Dave, we have Kurt Benning, we have Gel that pops in and out, and so many others. But guys, let's see. Who two will win these little guys? I'm thinking I'm going to pick the two people that basically never miss a stream. They are here. Not only do they almost never miss a stream, they chat it up from beginning to end. Oh my gosh. And it just keeps me going. It keeps me talking to you guys, and I love it so much. But not only that, I'm going to pick these two people that after the stream and in between streams, they're chatting it up on Discord. Oh my gosh, guys, go to this project thread and just see all the cool commentary. But you're going to see two main people that just look at all my pictures, say, hey, do this, do that, give me ideas, and we go back and forth. So, drum roll, who's going to win these two ornaments? And remember, you can build your own. I have all the instructions, the streams, and the supplies list. So, winner number one, Dave Beck. And there goes the buzzer. I won't give that one to you. I'm kidding. I will put it back on. And winner number two is Bounty Hunter Breaks. Yeah. So guys, these are not that difficult to make. I know you've seen the toiling, you've seen what I have done complication wise, and you don't have to make as many connections as I do. You can go with like fewer trimmings, and that's going to make your life a ton easier. So Dave Beck and Bounty Hunter Breaks, if you can hit me up on Discord with your addresses if I don't have it yet. And I don't know, I'm thinking next week, do you guys want to have like a real world test and see if these things even really work? A little post Christmas cheer, because yeah, I don't know what their deliveries are like. But guys, this was so much fun, and I so appreciate not only the Wrench Army that makes all these projects possible week after week, and they get their very own stream too, but all of you guys watching that tune in every single week, and a lot of you guys have meandered over to Discord where we can continue the discussion. But guys, don't forget, between streams, that's where the real magic happens. So definitely head on over there. Merry Christmas to all of you. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. We figured out a lot of improvements now that we can make to these. So I'm gonna redo this back on this one. So guys, big pants, baggy clothes. I want to see everybody like 5 to 10 pounds heavier. So when we come back, I'm gonna put the wide angle lens on my camera, and you guys are gonna be like, she had a good holiday meals. So, and Bounty Hunter Breaks is like, are we ready to power up? We're almost ready to power up. But you know what needs to power up first is our bellies. So once I power it up, I will be posting a video on YouTube and Discord, and you guys can see how these things worked. We're going to see if they talk to each other, but then I will send one to Dave Beck and one to Bounty Hunter Breaks, and we're going to do a real world test with your guys' network name and see if, like, between the three of us, these things can really talk to each other. Everybody else, the plans and what I've done so far, all of the wiring diagrams, check this out. All this is available for free on Discord, so you guys can build your own. All the parts lists are there, and you guys can hop on the network too. And then all of a sudden, I'm gonna see this thing blinking, and the other two can be like, wasn't me. Then I'll know one of you guys have built this, so we can all make like a Gearhead Diva interconnectivity all year round little festive tree. This is Festivus, so every day is Festivus. So guys, again, Merry Christmas, big pants. I want to see wide angle lenses because, you know, we just had really big holiday meals together. And I will catch you guys next week to see how all this worked out. All right, we'll reveal the results. See you guys, and Merry Christmas.